I had issues either with managing time or communicating properly or solving the problem quickly. These were specific things that were covered. I always thought interviews are about solve the problem and move on. But it's more about convincing the other person that they want to work with you in the company. A lot of intangible improvements as well. Things like more self-awareness and mindfulness, compartmentalization. These are currently helping a lot in my current role. I had 16 or 17 rejections in a row before finally having the first offer. The first few rejections were the hardest. We have to think of rejections as not a reflection on yourself. Many of us got into that trap. Considering how much I've gained in terms of title and compensation, it's almost like 10 times of what I had actually invested in coaching. I definitely think it's good to go in with an open mind. Definitely try it out because it's hard to know exactly what something entails until you actually try it out for yourself and see if it's a good fit.
Hey Ushnish, welcome to this session talking about our results from coaching.
Yeah, thanks. Nice. Looking forward to it.
Can you quickly introduce yourself to people? What's your name? What do you do? Where are you located?
Yeah, my name is Ushnish, located in San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm a senior machine learning engineer.
Awesome. So one quick question I want to ask you before we get started is, can you tell us a little bit about where were you before you started working with us? How were you feeling in your career, at work?
Yeah, for sure. So before I started coaching, this was sometime last year, mid last year, I definitely felt pretty behind in my career and stuck in what I was doing. And I couldn't really see a way forward. I didn't really feel prepared for interviews either. So I knew that I had to interview to.
You were preparing though, right, for the interviews?
I had just started preparing on my own, but mentally I was not quite ready. And it had been a long time since I'd interviewed up to that point. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for how challenging interviews are. And at the same time, I wasn't juggling my work expectations with interview preparation that well. So both these things kind of affected my self-esteem at the time. And I didn't think I had the capability in some sense to change my situation at the time. Yeah.
Awesome. That was about 9, 10 months ago though.
Yeah, that was around last July or June, something like that. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about what have you seen in your life, work, job search as a result of working together?
Yeah, several things changed along the way. So the first thing was basically learning how to manage stress and anxiety levels while juggling between work and interviews. Initially, I thought I'll quickly interview and quickly convert something, but through the coaching, the first thing we went through was, well, this is going to take a long time. So prepare for that mentally and set up things in a way that you can keep interviewing and prepping for a long time.
Turned out it didn't take that long after all.
Yeah, in the big picture, it was not too bad. That's true. But at the time, it felt like I couldn't see the end of the tunnel at that time. And the first few interviews, I had issues either with managing time or communicating properly or solving the problem quickly. So these were specific things that were covered during the coaching. And especially what helped a lot was like non-technical interviews and how to prepare for them, how to talk during those. That was something that definitely I had not done much of up to this point.
And by non-technical interviews, you mean behavioral interviews, bit of system design also?
Yeah, exactly. So behavioral interviews and also talking about past experience. So many interviews were just that and nothing else. And even those are extremely crucial to prepare for the right way, just having the right stories to tell and structure. So these things definitely, it helped a lot to talk through those, as well as how to carve out time throughout the day to actually prepare for the technical stuff. So these things, I didn't have that much structure before. So that structure really. And as the interview process went on, what became more and more important was showing up in a way that shows confidence and leadership ability and good communication skills, which are slightly different from what you prepare for. But these things really make a big difference. So here, I guess it really helped to talk through and do lots of scenario planning and things like that. So these things were definitely made a big difference.
Like the way you show up in the interview apparently you learned that it has a huge impact on the outcome of the interview.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. Because ultimately, in the interview, you want the other person to want to work with you. So that was a key learning. I always thought interviews all about solve the problem and move on. But it's more about convincing the other person that they want to work with you in the company. That's really the key, I guess. That was a learning as we went on. And the final thing was in the negotiations. So this is something that I learned a lot of new things, which I hadn't known before. Like the basic mindset that once you clear the interview, you already have the leverage. You can take more time and you can always negotiate, and you always have the upper hand as a candidate. And there's different types of techniques and how you talk during conversations with the recruiter or hiring manager to make sure they understand that, so that when you get to the point when you're actually negotiating numbers and title and roles and responsibility, then you have more chance to get to the right level and expectations.
This is, by the way, just for the other folks who are listening, this is during the time when market was supposedly very bad, the end of 2024, 2023. Even then, you have a lot of leverage when people think you don't have much leverage as a candidate.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think that as long as the company has interviewed you and gone to the end, then it doesn't matter what the market is doing, because this company and this role at least has worked things out. So it doesn't matter too much what's happening in other companies, as long as the company that has already moved forward is still talking with you and things like that.
And can you speak a little bit about the bad job market? Of course, you went through a lot of no's also to get to a couple good yeses.
Yeah. I had about 16 or 17 rejections in a row. Wow. First, before finally having the first offer. Yeah, the first few rejections were the hardest because it had been a while since I'd interviewed. So it hits you much harder the first few times. But I think towards the middle and towards the end, I was at least able to analyze, at this point is probably where the rejection happened, or things like that. So that at least I could prepare for that for the next round. So at least there was a trend whereby the rejections were initially happening at the phone screen, then in the second phone screen, then in the on-site. So at least it felt like I was getting closer and closer. So we have to think of rejections as not a reflection on yourself, first of all. So that's a big learning. I think many of us got into that trap of, it's because I'm not a good engineer or something like that. But in reality, it could be many things outside your control. It could be that the company changed their mind after the interview or they closed the role. I actually think in that way, maybe the bad job market might have been a factor, because maybe roles got closed or deprioritized as the interview was going on. That is one thing. But also, I guess, focusing on the learning or where the interview could have gone better, and then preparing for the next one was what helped. I guess it also helped to keep on aggressively reaching out to people and trying to get more opportunities to interview and not just stopping halfway or something.
Beautiful. You also mentioned you're feeling further behind in your career and self-esteem was low. How do you feel about those things now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in self-esteem, etc., is convincing yourself that you can achieve what you want. So now I have much more confidence in myself and my own abilities, which was significantly less, I guess, a year ago. Yeah, so it's more about proving to yourself that you can work hard at something and achieve it through hard work and focus. Yeah.
Let's switch gears and talk about when you were starting to consider coaching with us. What were some of the doubts or dilemmas you had?
Yeah, I had never done coaching in general before. The only other time I'd done coaching was for gym. And even that had some different levels of success. So initially, I wasn't sure what to expect or what coaching entails. But after the first few conversations, it really seemed like having someone to bounce ideas off from and have support while going through something, and Most importantly, having a different mindset and a different way of looking at things rather than looking at things a specific way. And maybe my friends and partner also looks at it the same way as myself. So I'm not getting a different point of view. So getting a different point of view and looking at things from the outside really makes a big difference, especially in situations that seem challenging and at that time and no solution. But yeah, so that's where having someone to bounce ideas off and someone who has seen situations from many, many other people, that also makes a big difference. Yeah.
And what would you tell somebody, by the way, who is considering coaching with us and they are on the fence, they're not sure? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I definitely think it's good to go in with an open mind and definitely try it out, because it's hard to know exactly what something entails until you actually try it out for yourself and see if it's a good fit. Yeah, especially the fact that you might get new ideas and new ways of working, new ways of thinking you didn't have before. So that itself is worth at least trying it out and considering it for some time.
How customized was it for you, the coaching itself?
We definitely started off with certain topics to focus on, but as time went on, we switched gears based on what is the next thing to focus on. We were able to pivot quite quickly, sometimes even in a weekly basis, because some things were changing very rapidly. So that custom journey and steering through these events and situations, yeah, definitely that makes a big difference.
I remember there was a time when you had a lot of interviews and negotiation lined up, and we were able to pivot very quickly.
Yeah. For those few weeks, I think we had multiple sessions in 1 week, just because every day there was some update. So pretty much every day we needed to go over something and such. Yeah.
So overall, has it been a worthwhile investment for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say that considering how much I've gained in terms of title and compensation, it's almost like 10 times of what I had actually invested in coaching. So in that way, because I think negotiation alone makes a huge difference, and maybe many people are not aware that spending time in negotiation can make a really big difference in your outcome. A lot of intangible improvements as well. So things like more self-awareness and mindfulness, compartmentalization. These are more intangible but more long-term things that are currently helping a lot in my current role. So yeah, definitely these things are well worth the investment. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Ushnish. It has been really a blast working with you, this chat, and also working with you in general. And I look forward to our continued work together.
Yeah, thank you.